The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. We do that every week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. And welcome back to Adjunct, where we speak with the best advertising university educators across the country. So we know some university classes can cost you hundreds to sometimes even thousands of dollars. So here's your chance to hear from the best professors at zero cost to you. And this week we have on Mark Berry. Mark is an assistant professor and he's the director of Minerva at the University of Alabama. So if you go to UA Minerva, that's MINERVA.com, you'll read this, in quotes, "We're the scrappy portfolio program from that football school in the Deep South. Minerva is a 2-year portfolio program that offers students the opportunity to build a competitive creative portfolio while getting their undergraduate BA or graduate MA degree in advertising at the University of Alabama. They started," end quote, "they started back in 2015 and they've been gaining traction ever since." And Mark is a director, so we hear his vision and advice for all aspiring advertisers. What I love about Mark is he knows his stuff. So we break down what to put in and what to leave out in your portfolios. This episode is especially great for those interested in art direction or copywriting. And if you do not have the best portfolio in the world, let's say you just graduated or you're about to graduate undergrad, and you're looking for maybe a portfolio program that offers a master's upon graduation, Minerva could be the option for you. So Mark also gives a shout out to our Crowbar Awards. Thank you for that. The Crowbar Awards is Breaking and Entering's ongoing show. We get a new brief and a new guest judge every quarter. Check that out at www.crowbarawards.com. And also, Mark listed out some secret advertising resources tailored just for you to help you break in on our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. Check them out there. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Adjunct Edition. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Mark Berry, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Adjunct Edition. How the heck are you doing today? You're in Tuscaloosa?
I'm in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I'm doing wonderful today. Thanks, Gino.
You are a second adjunct guest from Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama. We had Jay Waters on a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago or maybe last year. I don't know. It's all getting lost. But he was great. You are more so on the creative side. And
I am.
We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about Minerva, and we'll explain what that is very, very soon. And all your advice as you are, you produce a lot of award-winning campaigns for your, with your students, your guidance. So it's good to have both Jay's perspective and now your creative perspective as well. But what's your official title over at University of Alabama?
I am an assistant professor and the director of Minerva at the University of Alabama. Minerva is a 2-year portfolio program in creative advertising, and that's the vast majority of what I do here. I teach a couple of outside classes as well, but for the vast majority of what I do is Minerva related.
Minerva related. So how'd you guys come up with the name Minerva? What does that even mean? Should I know that? Is it a color?
No, it's the lady from the University of Alabama seal, the official seal from the university. She's the
poetry, medicine, commerce, weaving, the crafts, and wisdom.
Yeah, and we figured we might be we could fit what we do somewhere in craft and wisdom somehow. Wisdom.
Where's the medicine come? I guess we are doctors for brands.
Yeah, right. There we go.
Good spin it. Yeah, that's my PR side of my brain work.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's who Minerva is.
Okay. So we're gonna break that down. But yeah. So not a lot of schools have. I've talked to a lot of undergraduate educators in academia, and it's come to my conclusion working at a portfolio school. Now I'm on in the industry side looking at portfolios, running the internship at Havas. It's come to my conclusion that a lot of these undergrad schools and programs struggle when it comes to the creative development of advertising creative portfolios. We create historically ad majors create really good strategists, media planners, account folks. So what are you doing at Alabama to ensure that these creative portfolios and maybe Minerva that they can stand up against the portfolio schools of the world? How are you tackling this problem head on?
Well, that's a good question. It actually, to back up a little bit, it's kind of why Minerva was created.
Mhm.
Glenn Griffin actually set up the initial plan for Minerva. I believe he is now at the University of Texas. Uh, and the whole point was to make it a little bit more of an equitable situation. And we didn't feel right graduating students, and then if they wanted to become ad creatives, telling them they needed to go drop another 40 grand and
Yeah.
2 years of their life at a portfolio school. It just felt a little dirty and underhanded doing that. So we built this program so that if you're already here and you're already in school, you can get enough classes in addition to everything else you do. You can get enough classes and enough time and enough opportunity to build a competitive portfolio. And what we do is, we don't have because it has to fit in to a regular curriculum of a public school, university type of situation.
Approvals, of course, yes.
All of that stuff. And then credit hours and all of the academic complications that come with all of it. We put in, we put in enough hours in there as much as we could to give them enough focus to be able to have the time to do this, because it does take a lot of time. It's not easy. It's, as we all know, it's really difficult to wrap your head around making ads that people actually want to see and seek out rather than the ads that people avoid.
Right.
And so, but we weren't, we don't have as many classes as portfolio programs have and things like that. But the classes that we do, we work hard and play nice. That's our little tag here at University of Alabama, or in Minerva anyway.
Mhm.
So we really get after it when we are in class.
Right.
The first they apply to get in. You have to apply to
Yeah,
get into the
let's
program.
run this
Okay.
down now. I think from the undergraduate perspective, and speak to me, Mark, as
Sure.
maybe I'm a freshman at University of Alabama, which sounds pretty damn fun to me. Um,
It can be a blast.
yeah. Maybe I should have entertained that. I had to stay in state personally. But walk me through this. So I'm a freshman, and I know I want to be a copywriter or art director. I love
Right.
ads. This is a lie for
Right.
me. This is hypothetical. I always like the account side.
Sure.
But let's say I really like copywriting and art direction. One of these two things. I'm a freshman. Can I be a major in advertising right away, right when I enroll, or do I have to transfer in? Run me through that process.
Sure. You can be any major you want at any point. And any major can apply to be in Minerva.
Okay.
To actually go through the program, you have to change your major to advertising.
Okay.
Uh,
But I know I like advertising.
right. So if you're already in, within our community and within our students, we actually don't have a lot of knowledge of, I want to be an art director or I want to be a copywriter.
So
It's
I'm
more,
already ahead of the game.
you're already ahead of game. But it's usually more the students come in knowing that they want to do advertising, but they haven't quite found
Mhm.
what they are into yet. And they know they like creativity, and they have, they either do photography or write poetry or whatever it is.
Mhm.
that-
Some creative calling,
something.
and they determine advertising at some point in their life was probably a way that they could make money doing something creative.
Being
And
creative.
a friend or a family member knew somebody in creative advertising, and they said, "All right, you should do advertising." And they're like, "Okay."
That's right, because you can make money being creative. So they either stumble in
Hmm.
accidentally and are pleasantly, they find themselves there, or they hear about it and they see the stuff that's coming out of the program and they
Yeah.
say, that's what I want to
They
do.
transfer into this
Right,
because of the marketing efforts on the campus.
right. And so it the applications come out for, it's about a 2 week application window when they're announced, and when the deadline to have them returned is about 2 weeks, and it's right around spring break.
Ah,
um
that's the
which,
first test right there.
yeah, you got to be willing to do a little work during spring break. So they come out, we review the applications pretty quick. The first class is in the spring, and they come in and you go through the program as a cohort. So all the students that come in all at the same time, and you would go through the program as a cohort. The first class is concepting, and
Hmm.
they're in the spring semester, and it's the only Minerva class that we have during the spring semester. Or that's not true, but for you being a
Hmm.
freshman,
Yeah.
that's the only class you need to
So
worry
I
about.
could enroll in Minerva as a freshman, or do I
You could.
not? It's not usual, you're saying, because usually people have to take some time to figure it out. But there's not an age or a year, like there's not mandated courses that need to be taken before.
There are a few, but if the, you know, I shouldn't say this publicly, but I'm gonna. If the application is good enough, I will figure out ways to make we will work around those classes
Oh,
and make
well,
things work.
that's incredible. I think that's super incredible that you're willing to do that, and maybe
Don't tell anybody.
I won't. I won't. It's just between me, you, and the millions of listeners we have. Okay. So you can figure, like, that application window opens up. It's 2 weeks. It's a little bit of a test during spring break to see if you're willing to put in the work, because that's a larger work ethic
Yep.
analysis of these people. Because we know that if you're going to create a portfolio, whether it's if you're an undergraduate and you will decide that you want to break into advertising, regardless of your classes, and even probably within Minerva, you guys do the best job you can. Students should expect to put in some extra work on the side no matter what. No matter what, because you're competing
Absolutely.
up against some amazing people that are going to these 2-year portfolio programs, getting the masters and spending 40, 50, $60,000, that are getting these internships, like they're paying for their internships. You're going up against a high bar. And we will probably allude to this as maybe when you were breaking in. The bar and the standard of these portfolios and what they're looking for, recruiters looking for, just keeps increasing every damn year. And I know we're trying to relax a little bit as an industry.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
that's like a thing.
Good
That's a
news.
thing. People are saying that. I don't know if it's damn true, but the comms world, everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, we're looking at different types of creativity forms rather than just the
Right.
standard portfolio." Not
Well, yeah. We do hold a high bar, and we do expect a very high work ethic of Minerva students,
true, probably.
because you only have our Minerva classes are an hour and 50 minutes long, so it's a little
Hmm.
less than 2 hours, and there's 20 to 25 people in a class,
Hmm.
and so the class time is taken with critique, and often we run over.
Of course.
And it's critique. So all the work that's done for that critique is done between Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday. It's
Hmm.
done between the classes. So uh, we expect, and which is not common for a university student to be, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, shouldn't say kid, 18, 19, 20-year-old young adult, to be
Hmm.
able to have the drive and the work ethic to put in those hours outside of class to prepare for class, when you
Right.
know that class is basically finding out what isn't working, right? Like
Right.
identifying what's not working, and then trying to lean into those few things that we can spot that are working, that do pique people's interest,
Right.
and just like turning those up. So yeah, we expect a lot from the students.
And that's great. I mean, the goal is to get these kids a damn job. and preferably, in my opinion, at a large or just a creative shop that, when I say shop, I mean full service creative ad agency, or if they want to go brand side, that's cool too, or whatever creative endeavor and marketing communications that you love, we want to get them there. So I really like, because I worked at a portfolio school for about a year, and I know the ins and outs and how it works, and it is rigorous. I worked at a 1 year portfolio school,
Mhm.
and I like how you guys set it up in cohorts. We've seen this at a very few universities do this system, but it seems to work very, very well. You have the cohort, and you move and you grow class to class with relatively the same people. Now, tell me, beyond the cohort concepting classes, campaign classes where they're working on spec work, can you specialize? So you get into Minerva, you start off with how to think, and you teach that, I'm assuming, and the basics, and you learn both sides. Can you specialize outside of your cohort then? Can you go do one off in copywriting, headlines, or for art direction, layout, typography, design? Is there some sort of specialization that you can pick depending on your certain track within that cohort?
Yes, the second semester of your experience, freshman Gino, is you finish concepting, and at the end of that, during concepting, you're working by yourself. You do the art direction, the copywriting, everything, and that's no computers. We just use Sharpies and white paper for thumbnails and roughs the whole semester.
Classic.
Until the very end. You do a hand rendered version of your final idea, but that's to build an appreciation for craft
Yeah.
and
But we're not even thinking craft right now. We're just thinking concepting, ideas on paper.
right.
Right.
It's planting those seeds though, right?
Mhm.
Like planting the seeds to come late to grow later. The that next semester is you would be in, there are 3 Minerva classes offered in that next semester for you. One is Portfolio 1. That's the first class where you partner up with an art director or a copywriter.
Love
But
those.
there's also an art direction seminar and a copywriting seminar where you focus on, um, getting tighter on those specific techniques and what
Got it.
you bring to the creative team. And then the third semester is a Portfolio 2 class, and then in the fourth semester there's a Portfolio 3 class where it's, those are the students that are putting the finishing touches on their portfolios and filling in the gaps that they might need another CPG product because they're really heavy on service or whatever, or durables or whatever it might be. They dial in their finished portfolios in Portfolio 3, but we also work on, that tends to be our competition semester as well. So we'll enter a bunch of stuff into the young ones and hopefully Crowbar awards soon.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and obviously American Advertising Awards, and all the awards stuff.
Yeah.
That's the semester that they have enough in their cachet to put stuff forward for awards.
I love it. I love it. So all said and done, how long is the program exactly? And can it be extended? Like, what if I'm a student in Minerva? Uh, is it 2 years? What was it again? Just help me
Yeah,
just culminate this whole thing, the big
sure.
picture. Yeah.
Sure. It is a 2-year program. And it's not like 2 years. I can do a year now and then skip a semester and do another year.
No, you're locking in and you're
Once
doing it.
you're in, you're locked in. Unless, I mean, because it's an application program, you apply to get in.
Hmm.
It does, just because you're in, you're not necessarily in forever. If you we like to talk about, there's engines and anchors, and
Oh,
you're either an
say no
engine
more.
and we cut the anchors loose. So
Yeah, yeah, and
um
it might not be. Hey, this is a hard business, and it's not meant for everybody. So it's probably the fact that you're giving real world, like as close to real world as possible within the classroom setting. You're doing everybody a favor by strengthening that there and like illuminating their strengths, and then you're also showing people, hey, like this is what it really is, or it's pretty damn close, and it sounds like it. And if they're not, it's not for them, then you're doing them a favor too by showing them that this is not the career path for you, and you're saving them a lot of time, a lot of money, and they can go transfer into maybe accountant, maybe they can still do PR, maybe they're more focused on new business or whatever the other areas of marketing communications. Maybe they know they want to go more brand side and less the creative
Absolutely.
discipline, which is great too.
Well, it is because, you know, you don't want to be miserable for the rest of your life. And
True.
if you aren't excited about doing this type of work, then don't do this type of work. There's,
Yeah.
what I say something about doing this type of work should be fun. If it's not fun, you're either doing the work wrong or you're doing the wrong work. And so I haven't had to remove many students from the program, but the few that I have removed, they usually are very thankful.
Yeah.
And in the end, they're upset at first and stuff, but in the end, they're usually quite thankful that because I'm very willing and I actively try and help them find something that they are meant to do,
Right.
because this obviously is not it.
Yeah. And that sounds like you're doing your job correctly as a mentor, as a career coach, and as a professor. I think that all makes a lot of sense, and it probably works very, very well. Do you want to give some shout outs to maybe some recent grads? I don't know if there's any like portfolios that you want to tell our audience, like go Google this,
Well,
and anybody come top of mind, or they're like, is that illegal? I don't know.
no,
We didn't talk about this before, so I'm just
no,
kind of
it's not illegal, man.
yeah. You want to like
If
highlight
it
any?
were, it would just make it more fun. The
Good, good.
the one that I would bring up is one that you and I mentioned the other day, and you didn't know that she had come from
Yeah.
Minerva, and I
Let
didn't know
me
you were talking about the same one.
Yeah, let me provide some context for the listeners. Mark and I, we talk quite a bit. So when we were talking before, I was saying we're talking about portfolios and getting pretty granular, what we're looking for in campaigns, and we're talking about diversity of the types of work in campaigns. You don't know, and we can get into that. But what I was saying was I can't stand when student portfolio looks like a student portfolio. You can tell it looks like a student portfolio is because every target demographic they're creating campaigns for is themselves, which is 18 to 24-year-olds. So
Yeah.
I brought up on a past interview, I was like, I can't see if I see another damn Red Bull campaign to college kids, I'm going to freak out. And then I also brought up how, and we kind of pieced it together that there was a student that messaged me on LinkedIn and was like, "Hey, Gino, I listened to your episode. We created a campaign for Red Bull, but targeted like grandparents,
Yeah.
and it happened to be one of your students. So go ahead and you can fill in the gaps here."
It was great. So I think it was Bridget Hahn that messaged you. Her and her partner, her creative partner Sydney Smith, created a campaign for Red Bull based on the insight that a can of Red Bull has less caffeine actually than a regular cup of coffee. And they said, who likes drinking coffee? Old people like drinking coffee. Let's target grandparents with Red Bull and let them have a little bit more fun in their life again. Which is a very young person way of thinking about grandparents, but still, because
it was a good one. And she told me, she's like, "Hey, Gino, by the way, like, check this out." I'm like, "Damn, you're right. You got me. Like, you did it right. Like, you took the usual suspect and targeted in different ways." So there's a good twist on it.
Because I totally agree with the target audience thing. It's if you're targeting yourself, it's really easy to talk to yourself and to people just like you. It's really difficult for a 19-year-old female to target older men with bladder problems.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, even the misconception here is, Mark, that it's hard to talk to ourselves still. Like we kind of like get into these like, oh, like I know what I like, therefore all of Gen Z likes this.
Right.
And I've even come across this with the Crowbar Awards. I'm like fairly, I'm in the demographic of who we're targeting for the Crowbar Awards, aspiring advertisers, people that just broke in recently within 3 years. And I'm missing the mark. Like it's hard. I thought I had it. I'm like, oh, I know what they want and I know how to promote this. And like still like we're not seeing the millions of submissions as we want. So go ahead and apply because you might just might win pretty easily, it seems like. But
work the odds right now.
yeah, but the assumption is like, oh, I know 18 to 24-year-olds because I'm in that. I don't have to do any research. Therefore, I know. And then you make these assumptions and it doesn't hit the mark. And then, yeah, that even shows it's harder. Like, think about how hard it is to then target somebody that's not you, like you said, like older adults or whatever. So the fact that this campaign, that Bridget, I believe her name, what was her full name?
Bridget Hahn and Sydney Smith, both of them. Bridget reached out to you, but Bridget Hahn and Sydney Smith.
Yes. So go check out how they did that with Red Bull, and then just kudos to them. And then that came from your program, or was that just a one-off that they did? Or
No, that was for, I think they did that in their portfolio during their Portfolio 2 class.
who else teaches? So who else teaches a part of this program?
So, we're a small program. I teach the concepting class and all the portfolio classes, but the silver lining from the whole COVID situation is that we figured out that the art direction and the copywriting classes can be taught really, really well over Zoom. And so that opened it up for us to reach out to people at agencies all over the country to teach those.
So you're operating just like a portfolio school model, an undergrad, and then potentially a graduate school too, which we haven't talked about yet. But
right.
I really think that you guys are doing something special there. The cohorts, the concepting classes, how to think, specialization. So is this predominantly art directors and copywriters? Do you tap into design or any other disciplines, or you just try to stay focused and do a good job within those two verticals?
We've got a great graphic design program here, but it's through the art department. And so it is specifically a graphic design program. So we don't really tap into that because then we'd be cannibalizing that program over there.
No, it's a different discipline, but I tell you what, Mark, design is it's so in demand, and so few people are great at it. For the students listening, like, maybe I should get more designers on this show, but maybe do the design MFA or the design major, whatever it is, BFA, whatever it is, and then take some concepting classes. I don't know if that's possible, but like in some way, shape, or form, like that's a really, really good combo if you got a little bit of concepting behind you.
I hear you. You can't. Minerva students are the only ones because of the class size and the time constraints.
Sure, because you got the cohort. You don't want somebody coming in. I was just thinking out loud.
We do push heavily for the art directors to go take some typography classes, take some design classes, take all of those things. Absolutely.
So freaking smart if they do that and they capitalize on that. So,
and same with copywriters taking creative writing classes or script writing classes through the creative writing program and stuff. So, well, and to be honest, that's sort of the benefit of having a portfolio program at a university is
they can tap
into anything else in the university, and everything else is fodder for making great advertising, right?
Absolutely.
All we are is just a collection of our own personal experiences, and then advertising is leveraging those personal experiences to help your brand. So
if I was an aspiring copywriter, I would do this program, and then I would take some classes in the classics and just read like some of the old good stuff out there, maybe some psychology, maybe some sociology. I don't know, just read and consume as much as possible in the academic setting, just to become like a well-versed in all forms of writing. And then I'm sure you can do that with art history. I actually know some people that did art history and curating as an undergrad, and then they went to like a portfolio school, and that was like a really good background for them too.
Yeah. Well, and if you did something, this is a nice segue into the grad program. If you did something in undergrad, either at University of Alabama or somewhere else, and you wanted to go to a portfolio program, but not necessarily a portfolio school, you wanted to end up with a degree. So a degree, degree granting program.
Okay.
We have that as well here in Minerva.
Okay. So yes. So somebody at a university, maybe they studied whatever it is, they figured out they figured out they wanted to be an art director or copywriter, and then they probably applied and recruiters said, you need your portfolio fixed up. Now they're going to be like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this on my own, or I don't have the discipline for the most part. We see that, like, people like the structure.
Right.
and then they don't want to spend a lot of money on a portfolio school because their parents are like, well, you're not even getting a damn degree. So why
Right.
would it help you? So they either have to fund it themselves or so they can look into this program
They
where they get the
can.
portfolio and they also get the master's degree, which can set them up long term for multitude of different opportunities. So they can do this, you're saying.
They can. They would apply to the university graduate program, all of that stuff. Then they apply to the advertising department to get a degree in advertising. And at the graduate level, it's this specialization of creative portfolio, creative advertising specialization. And so they would take they would, just like undergrads take a lot of other undergrad classes. You're taking your geologies and your maths and your Englishes and stuff.
Yeah, that's
Grad students do that as well. So they would take theory classes and research classes and things like that in addition to the Minerva classes. But then they would graduate after their 2-year master's program. They would graduate with a competitive portfolio. At least that's the goal, right? Like we don't, all we're trying to do is build a system to where you are given the knowledge and the opportunity to do the work. But in the end, they do the work. And so, and this is a little off topic, but it's something that I thought would be beneficial. Is a lot of programs talk. I saw something the other day, an undergrad program that was talking about creative direction specialization, and it's just sort of in advertising, and I think it's just a little
for undergrad.
Yeah,
To be a creative director.
Yeah.
That
or it may have not been a specialization, but it was like a class or a focus of the class or something. And it's a little bit bananas. Like people ask all the time, ask me, where do the students go? What do they do? And I say, they go to the top agencies. Some of them go to the top agencies in the country and do some of the best work that you have definitely seen and experienced and all of this stuff. But what we don't train, I'm not training people to be creative directors. I'm trying to train them and get them ready to be beast level juniors. To come in and just
this is not
kill it at a junior level.
I'm just thinking right now, I'm trying to piece this together. So this might not work, but this is not the Army. This is not West Point, right? Where if you go to West Point, you train and then you do 4 years there. And then when you graduate at West Point, I believe you become an officer.
Correct.
And you kind of skip the infantry type, like those roles are where you're the gunman or whatever. This is not that. We're not training officers, and the officers in advertising is a creative director. There is no skipping. There is no jumping to being a creative director. That's a whole other. It's a whole other job.
Well, it's the type of thing that it would be ludicrous for a 2-year portfolio program to make the claim that they prepare you for that. We just don't. There's just not enough. There's just not enough time and not enough experience.
Well, you're gonna get recruiters just laughing at your program if they're saying that, like, because you have to have the experience and you have to go through it for a long time. Like, you have to be senior, then ACD,
that's
then
right,
creative director, and that's like,
and oftentimes what we have found is when our students graduate and go do an internship or get a junior position and stuff, that my advice to them is if you're doing an internship, treat it like it's a junior position. Like don't go in and wait for them to tell you stuff to do and what to do all the time. Treat it like a job and go about doing a job. And so, but we've gotten feedback, or I've heard things from former students and alumni and stuff saying, yeah, they loved how prepared we were to do hard work and love doing hard work, but not necessarily how to do everything in the work, because every agency has their own, they have their own vibe about them, and their own techniques and their own way they like doing things. And every creative director team has ways of way they like to do things and stuff. So building a foundation and a scaffolding so that the students then can graduate and go about building the building of themselves. That's a terrible analogy, but you know what I'm saying. Like, the experience of doing is where you become the thought leaders in the industry and
Yep.
stuff. But
Right.
And I think that we've heard people about portfolio schools, traditional portfolio schools, and some portfolio schools more than others. But we hear about those students that graduate and will say things like, well, I'm planning on being a creative director and within my first couple of years or whatever. Or they're just,
They should be saying that.
yeah, they're just, they are a little too ambitious for their own good, and they're not a lot of fun. They're entitled a little bit. So we work hard at not producing students that walk out thinking that they're better than everybody else.
That's
We're
great.
Kind and friendly people.
Because regardless, the agency world will humble you. Whether portfolio school, wherever you come from, that first year you're going to learn, and you're going to learn a lot, and it takes a lot of hard work and long nights, and you're gonna be with amazing people. And like, the goal is to get to an amazing agency with amazing people and amazing clients. And if you get there, that's the goal. Just think one step at a time.
That's right.
Like, identify the agency, identify your role, identify the people you want to work with, the clients you want to work with, curate your portfolio. I like to say 4 to 6 campaigns in there that are diverse, that have a bunch of different deliverables that are tailored to what you want to do. Have your about me section, and make it clean, and then apply and just get the damn first job and you could be picky, but sometimes the first job just picks you, depending on the economy and depending on the timing. And but these agencies, there's no hiring period. It's just based off new business and if people leave or not. So it's not like accounting or banking where there's a hiring season. I'm not sure how that works, but this is all just random timing. So it's just keeping up with that networking early and keeping your portfolio touched up.
Well, and it makes when you said the industry will humble you, I've told you this story before of my first interview in undergrad. I was going for an unpaid internship, and the guy looked at the first 2 pages of my portfolio, shut it in my face, and said, "There's no way you're getting this internship."
Just right. That was back in the day when you had to do it face to face. It wasn't a link. It was printed out.
Oh yeah. And that was only reason that is because I was able to drive the hour to Houston to go see him.
Yeah.
We mailed.
A lot of work.
We had 2 copies of our books, our big portfolios, and we would mail those off and just pray that they would mail them back if they didn't like us.
It's funny, we still call them portfolios and books.
Yeah.
Like their pages now.
Yeah. What
your site
echoes. Yeah.
So you went there, he said, heck no. But then what did he do? He didn't just shuffle you out the door.
No, it was an amazing experience. He spent an hour with me showing me all the portfolios of the people that were in the running for the actual position. Mm-hmm. And I got a ton of education in that. I got more education in that 1 hour than I had in my undergrad, for this industry anyway.
But you're changing it now. Like,
I'm trying.
Like, because I hate when people say they learn more in their first year than they did in 4 years undergrad.
Yeah.
And I don't think that your students will necessarily say that.
Well,
they might learn a lot. They're going to learn a lot in their first year, but it's probably not that much. Like, it shouldn't be too different.
It'll be different content that they're learning, right?
More,
they'll be filling out at that point.
Right.
I won't mention names, but I have rage about my undergrad professor setting me up for failure like that, because he set me up with that interview and he told me, your portfolio is fantastic. You're going to get the go. And I walked in there thinking, oh, I got this in the bag.
Yeah.
And just a gut punch right out of the gate. So I definitely do not want to, I have sleepless nights worrying that I'm setting my students up for that type of situation.
Well,
So
that's what
I appreciate you saying that.
and that's
I'm
what
gonna change it.
every lecturer, professor in all of academia should have that same mindset as you. And your students should be grateful. They don't realize the work that you're putting in. So make this a mandatory listen for them and like show them like this is it. Like I'll talk to them too, like
Yeah.
and set them straight. And like
It's
this
like
is
writing
good
the book
stuff.
and then making them buy it. I'm not doing that.
A lot of professors do that too. Make a lot of money off their students, but I know you're not doing that. So we talked a lot, and I know we kind of neglected your story and your background, but I will mention it in the intro. So I'll work with you on your bio, and we'll include that. But
Okay.
how can people, if they want to learn more about your background and about the program, how can people reach out to you if they have any other questions or they want other advice from you? How can they reach out to you?
LinkedIn is probably the best way. So jump on LinkedIn, and if you're going to connect with me, you and I have talked about this as well, Gino. If you're going to connect with me, write the note. Tell me you heard you heard this on the podcast and you wanted to connect, or you're interested. Give me
Something.
Give me some context for having a connection. Don't just be a rando that I don't know who you are. And all that
I love that, and do that with me as well.